First of all, I think it is important for you to understand that besides my not being a member of parliament, I will always fight and advocate for good governance and also fight against corruption. I think corruption has become very sophisticated to a point where lawyers, some of them have also become corrupt. Whilst the law is very clear and lawyers, you expect them to guide you to a position which is legally correct. They guide you to a position which is legally unlawful, and they make their money, and you end up going to jail. Let me first of all say to you that I'm not fighting my uncle Dimas Mliswa. I'm targeting the criminals around him who I know. At that age, I don't think he would do anything unlawful, but they have put it in such a way that they gain and he suffers. So the good thing about documentation is to get to the people who put it together. Members of the public, I think it is important to know that I am a shareholder and director in Mungwe Investments Limited. I'll show you the Sierra 14 to know that this company owns certain pieces of land, namely Mungwe, Risapi, Falls, Utandi Health, under deed of transfer number 7972/2008. Deed of grant number 600/2008, and deed of grant number 8874/2008. These three properties are the company's sole assets, and their disposal or elimination must be approved by the company's board of directors. It has come to my attention as a shareholder and director of the company that there is development underway at the above mentioned company properties by an entity called Borobondo Private Limited. Borobondo has put up adverts inviting members of the public to purchase stands from them. Let me warn all those who purchase stands that this is illegal. Due process was not followed, and I would urge the public not to fall for this, to first of all recover the money that they've put in an investment until this matter is concluded. It is before the courts as we speak. So go and ask for your monies, put them in an investment, let it generate some money. If this is to then become what is supposed to be following, what is proper, then you can invest. For now, I want to help you. That's why I know with your hard-earned savings, you will keep on losing money. So I wish to advise members of the public that there is neither the company's shareholders nor a director's resolution authorizing the development or the sale of the stands to the public. In the absence of such approval, it is my reasonable suspicion and conclusion that the development is a fraud, a real fraud. Like I've said to you before, they've become masters of duping people, and while they are wolves in sheepskin. To this end, I instituted legal proceedings under HCHC 42/24, that's the High Court number, against the said Borobondo and all those working in cahoots with it. Further, I shall approach law enforcement agents to investigate the possible criminal conduct. In fact, I've already reported the matter to the Anti-Corruption Commission. We've given them the evidence, so the investigations are underway. Like I've said, members of the public are therefore warned against buying property from them until this matter is resolved. What I would like to say is that should members of the public proceed to purchase the stands, none of its shareholders and directors shall be held liable. There are documents which I will share with you here, which are critical. My lawyers, Masia and Shesha, are representing me in this matter. I've got the CR 14 here, 2007. In fact, the company number of the company is 17986/2007, Companies Act, which clearly has me as a director. The directors who were appointed on the 20th of August 2007 were Didmas Noah, Edwin Mtasa, Martin Mtasa, Themba Mliswa, and in terms of nature of change, they still remain as directors. There was Mebo Nyamuswa who resigned on the 20th/02/2017. As you can see, and I'll expose this with the new CR 14 that they have, there are 2 directors. So I'm not there. So you then move to the one that they bought, which is 17986/2007. This was done by Jess SM Consulting, and this one was done by Focus Business Services in terms of who dealt with these issues in terms of the company. So there's, in terms of CR 14, this is the latest that they have in terms of Mungwe investments. So there's still Didmas Mtasa, 20 August 2007, Martin Mtasa, 20 August 2007, and on Themba Mliswa, they then say, I resigned on the 9th of February 2021. I never wrote a letter resigning. I've asked their lawyers to show me a letter at which I resigned. I never resigned. So this is the first point of call that we have to look at. When did I resign? What were my reasons for resigning and so forth? They went on to come up with resolutions now after the amendments of that. But we have the shareholders agreement, which I'll give you a share of. There were 4 shareholders in this. The first one was Noah, Didmas Mtasa, Mebo Dete, there was Themba Peter Mliswa, and there was Martin Mtasa. And we all signed all these shareholders agreement. So one, we were directors and shareholders. And it stipulated the number of shares that each one of us had. I had 10%, maybe 10%, Martin had 10% in this. We were the directors. The agreement in terms of the shareholders agreement is also very clear in terms of how business will be conducted. So if you go to the meetings, 2.4 meetings of the board, So okay, I'm no longer a director according to the CR 14, but I remain a shareholder. So meeting of the board, it was very clear that we would become board members unless you have a proxy that you put. It's like a quorum required for the transaction of any business at any meeting of the board shall be 3 directors. So they came up with a resolution of getting into a partnership with Borogondo, and there were only 2 directors. So this again talks about the lawyers, Lawman Chambers, MC Law Firm, which is really a bunch of criminals as lawyers. I'm equally writing to the Law Society. Lawyers, some of them have become dangerous. And we need to, and that's the reason why I called for this conference, press conference, to alert the people that don't trust lawyers. Some of them, there's no business in town. So they've decided, if you have a company, to now be a shareholder in that company, to now run the company through the legal work. By the time they give you the invoice for the work that they've done, it's actually more than, we end up being a minority shareholder and so forth. So MNC Law Firm is one of them. Lawman Chambers is one of them. I am prepared to face a lawsuit anytime because I have it on good authority that they've been ill-advised their client because they're interested parties. This is, it's not a secret that I have 20 children. If by Thursday we confirm the DNA of Susan's baby, I will have 20. This is an investment for my children. I've never been a minister, a government official where I can get an opportunity to make money. This is an investment for my children. This is an investment for my children. We fast forward to this. They then wrote to my lawyers, offering me $1 million, the 10%. And I said, no, the value of that land was more than $1 million. And if I was not a shareholder and a director, why did you offer me $1 million? And I'll show you, they offered me $1 million, and I turned it down because that was not the value of that land. The value of the land was, at least I would have been happy if they'd given me 1.5 million. So this was the letter that they had written on the 2nd of November 2023. And of course, they coil it in such a way that, like they will say to you, this is how the letter goes. We refer to the above matter of correspondence thereon a roundtable meeting of the 25th of October 2023. We have now taken instructions from our client who strongly objects to your claim. However, in the interest of amicable settlements, we are instructed to propose a compromise figure as a buyout. So look at the way they call it, object to your claim. So if you object to my claim, why are you offering me $1 million? So they come up with these words so that they're seen to be doing right. But at the end of the day, they still write what they're offering you. Against this background, on a purely without prejudice basis, we are instructed to propose and do hereby a buyout of yours in inverted comma claimed 10% shareholding in the company for a compromise sum of $1 million. I mean, are they so generous? I mean, there are so many hospitals which need help. Why did they donate this to their hospital? Why are they giving it to me? So how can you be generous to offer me 10%, $1 million for 10%, but you still say all this? So I would want to understand that. So with that letter, again, which talks about that, the governance of the company was never done properly. I wrote pushing for a meeting for us to have this. I saw them continuing to advertise, and I said, listen, I am more than willing to walk out if we agree on the sum that I need. I went on to also buy another 10% shareholding from Martin Mutasa, who I'd loaned money to, and his security were the 10%. So I'm actually 20% shareholder. That's subject to them approaching the course that they need to, One of the shareholders who they were fighting against went to the High Court and was given the 10%. Same agreement, they were given the 10%. So a precedent has already been set. Unfortunately, she had to fight in the courts when she did not have to. So the courts ruled that give 10% of the land or the value. They settled that. It's the same agreement, the only difference is the names. So then, how then do you say I'm not a shareholder when this one was paid and they've got a court order? So these are the issues which I thought I would talk about to those who are dealing with borrow. But no, they can write as many statements and so forth. I've asked them to, if they were here, they must ask questions. They are lawyers. If they want to cover their company and their reputation, MC law firm and Borobondo, where are they to respond to these letters? Like I've said, at the end of the day, I don't want a distortion. Some of the family members have been calling me, you've gotten Sekuru, did mass arrest. I said, no, I haven't. I'm targeting the criminals around him. I've reported to Zach. If he's invited by Zach, he'll be told who cooked these papers. That's all we want. We need to get to the bottom of it. So I would never fight my uncle or get him arrested. But he knows the people who he was instructing or who were instructing him to come up with this. This is the investment for my children. I have no other job, and I'll never be given another job. I'm now a village head, and we're only paid $63 a month. How would I look after 20 children? So this was an investment for my children, and they must enjoy their father's hard work. And we must promote people who invest wisely like this for their children, where there's no corruption involved. We actually came up with this idea ourselves. We paid for this. We equally believed our uncle was supposed to be empowered. We didn't want him to be involved in corrupt issues. We gave him 70%, rightfully so, and we don't regret that. But we have all the receipts for the payments, for everything. But we said, we don't want you to be like other politicians when they are no longer politicians, they suffer. You have done well, you've been our good uncle, we are giving you 70%. How many nephews can do that? And we retain only 30%. It was a good gesture, but the way it's turning out to be is pretty clear that my uncle is getting old, by the way. And in getting old, they're taking advantage of him in the process and so forth. So we have to protect him, because I now don't know what else they've done, what else they're going to take away from him and so forth. So it was really in the interest of the people who are investing in Borobondo, and again, in the interest of my uncle, Diligence, that he has people around him who have pushed him this far. He's always been an upright man. We know that he's one of the few people who left government without a scandal of corruption and so forth. And he must, and we must protect his integrity and dignity. So I wouldn't want people to say, ndini mzukuru kana ndaona kuti sekuru waunganirwa nematsotsi ndini ndinopinira kuti vanhu havasi right. And we have done our investigations. We know all these companies. JSM, who then doctored all these papers to remove me as a director, to say I'd resigned. Where are the papers saying that I resigned? I'm still a shareholder. I have to be part. If there's a meeting which was ever called, I have no letter and notice giving me notification of the meeting, just like any other director of any company. There should be days, at least 10 days, which you are advised of the meeting, and the agenda is also there and so forth. So that was not done. So we are really dealing with criminals in the MC law firm, lawmen's law firm, and Borobondo. They've become a cartel. They are not good lawyers, so they'll always find ways of making money outside their real profession at the end of the day. I would want to know, in terms of their real profession, how much money do they generate at the end of the year? They saw this as an easy way of making money, took advantage of an old man who has served this country and came up with these papers. We're going to fight this to the last, and the truth will come out. And those who have been part of this, the law will take its course. The law will take its course, because we have to protect the citizens. And like I've said, be very careful of some of these law firms. Be very careful. And they've now They've become criminals themselves, yet they must be protecting criminals. That's the new vibe on the streets. Unless there's anybody with any questions, we've got documentation that we're leaving for you so that you speak from an informed decision. The copy of the shareholders agreement will also be availed to you. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes.
Yes, thank you very much for that expose, Honorable Mliswa. Just to find out if they had offered you 1.5. So you are still an honorable.
No, that's honorable, not very. Okay. You sub not for now.
Yeah. Sub Mliswa. So yeah, if they had offered you the 1.5, would you have accepted it?
Yes, because the land value is 1.8 to 2 million.
Okay.
Yes, I would have taken that, and we are already doing that. But I realized that they went too deep into these things to a point where they realized that if they had to spend that, they would sink. They went too deep into doing illegal things, and they thought that because my uncle is there, I would not report. You see? They thought that because my uncle is there, I will not report. But I will not report. You see? And that they were comforted by that. So now that's why family members are calling me and saying, no, but this is a Mungu. Mungu is a different entity from Diligence. He's a shareholder, I'm also a shareholder. It's a different entity. But if you go to Mungu, he's a director. So I think they were comforted by that with Iowa. And that's what their thinking was. But now legally it does not work like that. I called for a meeting for us to regularize this. There are a lot of things as a director which were not in order. And I said, before we do anything, let me regularize all this. Even the shareholder who now is out and resigned as a director, there was supposed to be a meeting. That now that this person has resigned, what do we do? All that was not done.
Yeah, the reason why I asked was that with that, how would you then now deal with the issue of corrupt elements that I think you are so passionate about? Was that going to be stopped because you've received your 1.5?
No.
Or still pursue it?
No, my thing 1.5, that's why I've got documentation. My 1.5 was based on regularizing everything first. So I'll give you that letter. Call for a meeting, this and that, this and that. I have a list of things to be done. Once that is regularized and there's a resolution, then we move. I was never going to get the 1.5 because it would have been illegal without us regularizing that. So there is a letter which I'll give to you, which clearly outlined the measures to be taken. And as a director and shareholder, I'm entitled to calling for a meeting. So I push for that meeting. Because there's no way anybody, and I would advise anybody would want to buy this company the way the governance issues. They're in a mess. But you regularize through a properly constituted meeting. Then we move to the next step. That's why even the other shareholder who got out, there was supposed to be a meeting. First right of refusal. That's the shareholders' agreement. Before I dispose of my shares, first right of refusal to the other directors. It's not. So that was not done, but we sit down, we regularize it properly, and then it becomes a thing. So there was no way the 1.5 was going to accept it that it had conditions that they had to also meet. First of all, we call for a proper meeting. And then resolutions of that meeting are what we move with. Even the application of a subdivision permit, we would have had it resolved. They went and got a subdivision permit fraudulently. We never had a meeting for it. So the meetings which they had were also fraudulent meetings where 2 directors are missing. There were 4 directors. 1 resigned, wrote a letter, they resigned. They were shareholders, they were given their shareholders. Where is the 3rd one? Then you come up with so where's the letter that I resigned? And not only that, where are minutes which you then call to say, this director has resigned, A, B, C, D, and so forth. So where are minutes which also talk to that? It was an afterthought. Most of the papers that they've come up with, unfortunately, will put them in trouble because it's an afterthought. And now they're coming up with these resolutions which do not make sense if you put two and two together. The right things have got to happen. I want to be part of a company which follows the law, which does follow the law. Yes.
In your flyer, you said you are going to expose land barons. So are you confirming that you were part of the group of land barons? Since you said you want to expose land barons, and now it appears that you are involved in that company. So are you saying that you were part of land barons yourself?
I don't know how you would reach a conclusion that I'm a land baron when I'm here to complain that my land was stolen. I thought I was here to say my land was stolen by land barons. I'm a 10% shareholder of land, and it's been sold by the land barons, the bondos, and so forth. Those are land barons. So I can't make sense of your question, unfortunately. Maybe you need to actually come again. I'm here to say 10% of my land shareholding has been sold without me knowing by land barons, without following the due process and all that. So I'm trying to make sure that we don't allow that to happen. And I'm exposing Borobondo as a land baron. Yeah, that's who I'm exposing. Because they're the ones who are selling land, which they stole, which is fraudulent. And yes.
So in court, I saw you for North real estate. We are suing.
It's a process. It's a process. It starts with the office, registrar's office. You know, there is so much corruption there. I mean, you saw that even the former minister of education, Government Zingamtumbook, had things played. He had his papers altered. You know that. It's not a secret. So there's also a lot of corruption there. So the anti-corruption will get to the bottom of it. Who changed these papers? In changing these papers, how come there's no letter that somebody resigned? So how come there are two directors and this one resigned? Whereas these are questions that they'll ask. The investigations will do that. Because they will know the corruption which is happening in these entities. I mean, corruption is open. If to a point where they forget that this was a minister, a former minister of education, they've got that thing, courage to go and play around with these title deeds and so forth. What about this case which doesn't even talk about the house with title deeds? So that corruption is there, and I've no doubt that the law enforcement agents will get to the bottom of this. If there are some secretarial companies that are also conniving with this, Atamba na sabuga atamba naye. Atamba never but not na sabuga. Akana mamtu bata zvangu. Azvinodichera kune mukuru wenyika kana pane vari kukurila nemukuru wenyika zvinosvika nekuti avadiwo uori. We need to deal with it. If they think they're protected by anybody, I want to see who protects them. I'll expose that person too. Along the way, they will tell us who's behind this. If it's them, because how many other people have suffered as a result? We can no longer have a system and have a country where people get away with doing illegal things because they are connected to so and so, so and so. When you eventually go to those people who they say they're connected to, they don't know them. We can't. And where we are as a traditional leader, I have to fight for the people. And some people will save money here, some people will lose money. Yeah, that's what we have to do. We need to curb it. Like I say, if it's a true transaction, it will happen. Then it will happen one day. Take your money out, put it in a bank, have interest, and when the property is there and things are regularized, you know, that's it. If the law is very clear, if you need the judiciary, we will get to the point of it. We will see who is behind all this. Yes.
You raise an interesting issue. Right now, we're having people's houses being demolished because of when they don't have title for those land. This particular land, in whose name is the title?
It's Mungwe, and Mungwe has got directors. And we are the directors of Mungwe, the four of us. Yeah, it's proper land, done properly. Yes, I would not do anything which is outside the law.
So the warning to the people of Lusape is not to get involved with Pro Bono because Pro Bono fraudulently.
I also saw them saying that there's Utandi, they are showing all this. That's rubbish, that's fraud. That's fraud. The town council itself must do a due diligence. They must have a legal. We have written to them. We have written to all these people that if you do it at your own thing, but we've put the matter. Once the matter is before the court, you cannot do anything until it's disposed of. So they cannot continue selling. Whoever is buying, what about then if the decision favors me at the end of the day? What then happens? So once the matter is before the courts, you suspend everything until it is disposed of.
Yeah, I think it wasn't clear the link between Mungwa and Bondo.
Yeah.
What happened between the land belongs to
Mungwe. And then Borobondo then did an agreement with Mungwe.
Okay. Of which Mungwe, that's where the CR14 was changed.
Exactly.
Two directors.
Exactly.
Okay.
Before it was 4, then 3. So Borobondo are now the ones who have an agreement to now run the development.
the development.
Yeah. After a resolution by Mungwe by 2 directors,
Okay.
where I'm saying I'm not on a, you now understand. Okay. Yeah. I suppose there are no other questions. Thank you very
No,
much.
sorry
Yes.
to
Yes.
thank you. Just maybe this case connected to the other issues that are taking place in terms of evictions and land and so on and so forth. Do you think you can play a central role nationally in terms of trying to put these things?
Listen to me. The illegal outside this, the illegal settlements which are there were done by politicians. I don't know why we're wasting time with them. Where is the Uchena Report? You're a journalist. Why are you forced to go this side when there is a proper report? Why are you swayed this side? Where is the Uchena Report? So we appeared before the Uchena Report in terms of this land. Done properly, everything, and it was represented by us and so forth. And it was, where is the Uchena Report? I don't know. Where is the land audit report? One man, one farm, where is it? Why do you get sidetracked? Where is the Uchena Report? This is where the land barons are. It's not out. And unfortunately, Honorable Malcolm is no longer in Parliament. He was passionate about it. He asked for it all the time. Where is the Uchena Report? Where is the Uchena? Because it's taxpayers' money. And the fourth estate you've done nothing about it. Maybe you also benefited from some of the developments. Yes. That's taxpayers' money. Where is the Uchena Report? There's also the land audit, one man, one farm, multiple farm owners. Where is that report? So before we even went for these people here, it was important to now know who owns what, who owns what, who owns what. And probably some of these illegal settlers have gone on to pieces of land which many people owned but cannot now run them. It's a very tricky situation because the law in South Africa, I've not looked at that. I think I need to more or less look into it. But the law in South Africa is that once somebody is settled, they cannot be moved until with alternative accommodation for them. It's the responsibility of the government to find housing for the people. If you go to Cape Town, for example, as you are getting in, you see squatter thing and so forth. And Malema articulates that very well. Once you are there, no one can move you until there's alternative. But again, what has also happened in South Africa, some of them have been given alternative accommodation and then they go and resettle somewhere so that they have more houses and all that. That's the only thing that they need to manage. But the law will always more or less protect the people. The illegal settlers is a known issue and it's also political at the end of the day in that Most of the political parties benefit from those people who are illegal. Come election, they're the ones who think. I don't see it going. It's a good political statement, but it cannot be implemented. It's impossible. It's not. It's impossible. We are looking at about 2-3 million people involved, and these are votes. These are votes, and most of them are in the farming areas. In the rural, there's no illegal. In my village, there's no, things are portioned. The only way which you talk about, which I'm pushing for as a traditional leader, is for us to have title deeds in the rural areas. Yeah, that's what I'm pushing for now. Because our act, colonial, is quite colonial. It does not talk about the current situation. And the point of having title deeds is so that there is permanent, people are there. Because you've got to understand that the title deed, the munumtema, igwarama yake na baba wake ilipa mshepa. Kana sekuru yake, ndio title deed yake. But that does not suffice legally. So no gonna kuviso. You see, but kana unema title deeds, and I don't think those title deeds must be said kuti anofana kushandiswa as collateral. No, it's kugare papo muri ne muri zigare papo. And if you think you don't want to go there, you go and surrender it to the state. It's to guarantee people permanent, but not for value in terms of collateral. No, it will not work. But for them to do a direct papo. Ekuti simasabu kuti nesimba rakawandaka. Togo yakufarisa ofutika toti wecheni. You see, the traditional act is very clear. It empowers us to do that. It is to know plan and so forth. But in the rural areas, there is not that. In fact, there are more empty pieces of land, which I encourage you guys to go back to. You know, more no gatramatongana sekuriko. Kaswasina misha mundo wana msati maende. Tutuita appointment kushuruku tukupanisha. Amu bagare ayo toda development tokufunza chicha witira wandu kana wawe. That's what we want. We want development in those areas. But the title deeds are critical for the rural areas. Any other question? Yes.
Yeah, for planning sake, you said this land belongs to Mongolia.
Yes.
And we're going to end up in agreement with Mongolia.
Yes.
So how then is this going to
I wrote to them and I told them what you've done is wrong. I'm a director. There was no due diligence and procedure. If I write to you and say, but Chief, that's my thing, wife, that you're trying to nyenga. If you continue, yeah, I wonder. Wanga usindazi, andile. But I will my own. Don't see it. So I wrote to them. So I've got paper now. But I'm a director. I'm a shareholder, and this is my stake. I'm not aware of this. And their lawyers kept on defending them, instead of them looking at the agreement and doing the proper thing. That's all that it is. Yes?
Yeah, just a follow-up on that. So my question is, why are you now warning the public now if you've known about this for as far as September 2023?
You know, if you go to court right now and say, and sue me because I owe you money, the court will ask you, what steps did you do yourself to resolve that? The court becomes the last option. The court expects you to engage a lawyer, write to me and say, Mr. Mliswa, Mliswa, you owe me money, 7 days, but if you don't do that, the court will say to you, go back and try and follow this route. You need to prove to the court that you did everything necessary. And at that point in time, I could not make it public. With me, I could not make it public. I had to follow a due process. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Joe, do you have the copies?